Have you ever wondered what makes a human human? Or have you thought about this mental experiment in which you imagine your body parts are taken one by one? If what defines you as you is your physical body and organs, at which point in this experiment this body or person ceases to be you? Well, we can be sure that famed cult cinema director David Cronenberg certainly has. In fact, his latest film, Crimes of the Future, asks this question in reverse. If we start adding body parts or organs to a person, when does he or she stops being a human? David Cronenberg is known in cinema for his stylistic version of horror cinema that has come to known as body horror, a genre that he is the most prominent figure of, and his work consists of multiple visually and thematically bizarre and unsettling films that are his signature. The amazing fact about Cronenberg is that despite all the gruesome and weird films, his works doesn't just fall into the category of tasteless B-movie exploitation films. No, it is actually evident that he is talking about some serious and often neglected by mass audience philosophical questions that, to be summoned in all their seriousness, need this gruesomeness and explicitly violent and sexual scenes. It seemed that Cronenberg had abandoned these problematic themes in his late films, but he has suddenly jumped back to his old self and to the cinema that he is known for by film lovers around the world. Body is the key word in studying Cronenberg. He believes that mankind is an organic and biological being that is the product of natural evolution. The only thing that sets mankind apart from other animals or even other organic beings like plants or any combination of natural molecules is their high-level consciousness to them and their inevitable death. This consciousness is the origin of their problems. Being conscious in this natural world makes this creature anxious to find meaning for their life. But as Cronenberg probably believes, this natural world is cold, soulless, and inherently meaningless. So all human endeavor reduces down to, one could say, pathetic struggle to forge and enforce meaning to life. One example of this endeavor is technology. Technology seen in Cronenberg's films mostly in the form of biotechnology is a man-made tool to make life on this cold world easier. But in its depth is a sign of mankind's moral descent in his helpless fight for finding meaning for their life. So these pessimistic sociological and existential themes are expressed in bleak, distressing, and absurdly strong cinematic world of Cronenberg, through decaying and mutilated bodies, shocking sexual fantasies, and weird and deconstructing objects and beings. And all these can be found in their full force in Crimes of the Future. Film is the story of a couple of performance artists, Saul Tenser and Caprice, in a time period that isn't exactly specified. In this time period, some drastic changes have happened to a human body. For example, it has lost the ability to feel pain, and infection doesn't grow on it anymore. Film doesn't give exact reasons for these changes, but it's implied it has been made possible by advanced biotechnological tools that diminish pain during sleep or help the consumer eat his food in an ironically healthy way. But the most important change in the film is the voluntary or involuntary development of vestigial organs on some people, such as Saul Tenser. Their performance, in fact, is about removing these organs before live audience. But removing these organs is exactly the point that marks Tenser's character evolution. He and his partner find about an underground group who advocate evolutional changes and are pro-evolution, in contrast to government, which for the sake of keeping the order of the society is against evolutional changes. The members of this evolutionary group alter their digestive system in a way that it can digest synthetic material such as plastic. Tenser moves towards this group and their ideas in the run of the movie, and at the end tries the plastic bar himself. For Cronenberg, all the questions and answers lie in the human body. If our body is simply a complex consequence of natural evolution, then naturally it wouldn't have any difference with any organic being. But since it is conscious of its being and its ultimate demise, despair is inevitable for this conscious body. This consciousness will revolt, will try to find meaning in chaos, and if failed, will create meanings. Cronenberg digs, devours, and manipulates bodies of his films in hope of finding something more than an organic system. But this hope fails. There's nothing but void inside, even in the most evolved of these bodies.
If the police found Bricken's body and did an autopsy, what do you think they'd find inside it?
Outer space.
Cronenberg deconstructs all the methods mankind has used over its course of discover and forge new meanings. Some of these methods being science and technology, art and sex, and sometimes combination of all these three. Cronenberg is especially pessimistic about scientific method and its ultimate form, modern technology. Science, originally created as a way to discover meanings, ends up destroying meanings and leaving mankind with the sad knowledge that there is nothing underneath these bodies. We use technology as a tool to run away from harsh truth exposed by science. We use it for unnecessary comfort, to numb our pain, to help us eat, think, and live, and prolong death as long as possible. This turns humans into more sick creatures, makes them more desperate and more machine-like. Some even go so far that try to find a meaning in technology. The evolutionary group in Crimes of the Future believe the key to adapt human progress with technology is to be able to digest plastic. This plastic prophecy may seem exaggerated, but Cronenberg believes that this is the path we are on. Notice how there is nothing to indicate the time the film is taking place. It incorporates futuristic elements set in 60s and 70s background. The future is now. Postmodern human, lost and clueless, will cling to anything for meaning. Sex has no better stance in worldview of Cronenberg. Sex used to be a way for two human beings to bond with each other and soothe the pain of existential loneliness. But this sex, in the words of Tensor, old sex is not enough anymore.
I'm sorry. I'm not very good at the old sex.
All we've achieved so far has made us all the more lonely, and sex, just like any other human endeavor to be happy and find meanings, has become more sophisticated and pathetic at the same time. In Crash, Cronenberg especially deals with this issue, but is also apparent in Crimes of the Future. Characters are drawn to wounds, disfigurements, and pain, since these defects remind them of their own fragility and their destined death. Art has a better stance in the eyes of Cronenberg, and could be considered a glimmer of hope. But art too will prove to be fruitless and just as pathetic at the end. The couple in the film try to find meaning in the chaos of the body, but despite their success in their work, they don't seem to be satisfied anymore. This is what tempts the couple to try new areas. The old meanings don't work anymore and need to be replaced. And it is the technology that provides art with means of redefining meanings. The artists use tools by life form where tools that are not used in service of science and retire in the hands of artists. Science and art go hand in hand in Crimes of the Future. Or better said, art tries to fuse itself to science and technology and gets its ways by the norms defined by them. And since the way provided by technology gets more deranged and clueless as technology progresses, art too, as the follower of technology, becomes a lousy manifestation of pathetic state mankind is in.
A desire to be open.
Metaphorically, emotionally, artistically.
In the end, Tensor chooses to abandon old meanings and find or create new ones by following the path of evolution. This may seem a noble act, and the ending may be considered a happy one, since Tensor decides to turn his back to the conservative government and embrace new ideals. But remember how new ideals are just another way to find meanings, and the only difference with the past ones is that it sinks lower in moral values. It is the same here. Change happens and revolutionaries win, by the artist in the film and probably by the society later in film's timeline. But this victory is essentially a defeat. It is the victory of plastic ideology. It is the victory of technological process, and art too succumbs to it, since the artists themselves have sunk lower. We see the pitiful tears of Tensor through the eyes of the camera. It is all a show, struggle doomed to fail. This victory and happy ending is not real. The old Cronenberg has definitely made his fans happy by going back to his roots. His existentialist body horror films were surely missed. But is there anything new to Crimes of the Future? It's fair to say that Cronenberg has matured in his ideas and worldview, but it's hard to find anything new in Crimes of the Future that the director himself hasn't explored better in his younger years. It seems that Cronenberg is too obsessed with expressing his pessimistic worldview that has grown more keen on over the years, and is using his film to say these ideas, and doesn't plan to utilize new ways to show them. It's the same imagery made possible with better technology. The main characters of the film seem to be mere tools to convey these messages, and do not possess a life of their own. They're not really relatable, and their dramatic evolution, despite of their biological evolution, doesn't happen organically. Turnstein's attraction to Timlin, or his gradual inclination towards evolutionary group, isn't created for the sake of character, but to get to some specific points director is trying so hard to tell. One could say Cronenberg's art doesn't succeed in creating meaning out of chaos, even if the meaning is that there is no meaning, and this is only a show made possible through technology that unfortunately fails to impress. Hey everyone, thanks for watching the video. Cronenberg is a pretty special director for all the cinephiles and especially horror movie lovers. So let me know your favorite Cronenberg film in the comments, and until next time, take care.